And so it went to what they call an auction, which is as nerve-wracking but as wonderful as it sounds. And my 10-year-old daughter was wanting her cake cut with her friends around her. Hey, I'm Megan Rogers and I'm an author. I'm the author of The Heart is a Star, published by HarperCollins Australia. And it's about a woman who races to the west coast of Tasmania to try to stop her mum from killing herself, but in doing so saves her own life. Layla is an anaesthetist and she has worked her whole life to get ahead in her career. She has built a family life that she believes is, I guess, the main goal in life. She has 2 beautiful children. She has on the periphery anyway, quite a happy marriage, and she has ticked all the boxes that many women feel as though they need to tick in their life. But there is things around her, such as pressures from family members and society, which pull on her and take her away from her family, take her away from her children. And she experiences a huge amount of guilt through that. And she also is looking after everyone but herself in the process. Layla is a completely fictional character, but I think she embodies what many women experience throughout their lives, which is a sense of confusion and a sense of feeling overwhelmed by the pressures in life. And even though Layla's story isn't my story, and even though Layla's story isn't anyone in my life story, I do really hope that women who read the book can see themselves in some of her struggles. I didn't know that I was going to be covering all of the issues that the book delves into, but I knew that the big ones, I knew some of the darkness that I would be covering. And the reason why it was important for me to do that as a writer is because I grew up with parents who worked in mental health, and I'm not myself a stranger to difficult things. And for me, when I read, I really like to explore and delve deep into the human experience, not to scratch on the surface, but to talk and explore about issues which sometimes we don't as a society. And that was really important to me. So I did go into the process really wanting to go into darkness and go into some of the difficult subjects that we and many people experience without necessarily talking to each other about. And I did and do believe that the more we do that as a society, as women especially, I think that is the way in which we try to reduce the control and the power it has over us. I believe that The Heart is a Star is, as much as I could do, is a balanced book. I wanted to provide equal parts darkness and light. So for every heavy subject that I deal with, I wanted to provide just as much light. So I've tried to imbue the pages with characters that are enjoyable to read, that are a bit escapist and allow you to have a smile on your face, and to use that to balance the times that are more poignant and moving, so that you want to turn the page to follow characters that you love as much as find out what's happening in the story. I really love the question about whether or not Layla is likable, because, you know, writers write books for different reasons, and I did go into this wanting to not give in to the temptation to make Layla likable, because almost on a daily basis I was tempted to censor her or to smooth her edges or to give her a different path that is more traditionally likable. You know, for a woman, it makes her a nice girl, it makes her less messy, it makes her I guess a person who desires less things. And so for me, it was less important that she was likable, and it was more important that she was relatable. And so I wanted to give voice to so many of the things that we as women don't share or we silence because we think that we need to be likable. The book does delve into issues which can be hard to read and hard to write for that matter. And it was really, really important to me that whilst I wasn't censoring myself, I was just really aware that I wanted to use my craft to do it in a more clever way. I didn't want to, a bit like when people swear when they're telling a joke, I didn't want to take the easy way and show the gratuity of anything that I was talking about. I wanted to have a lighter touch. And so a lot of what I was doing craft-wise was pulling back and looking at what was happening, both the dialogue and the plot points, and thinking, how can I touch on the emotion of this without showing it in a way which is shocking? How can I use dialogue and simple things like gestures or the landscape in a way which mirrors what is happening so that the reader has time to pause and reflect on it and think about it rather than be completely taken aback? Dawn is Layla's auntie, so she is her mother's sister, and she is living in aged care accommodation near Layla. And she's played a really important part in Layla's life, in helping Layla's family and the time, I guess, soon after the children were born. And she is getting to the stage in her life where she, like Layla, has had a lot of things happen, which you uncover throughout the book. And her connection with Layla is probably deeper than blood. Dawn was one of my favourite characters to write in the book because she gave me space to breathe as well. And she gave me an opportunity to explore people like her that I have loved dearly in my life. And they include my Year 12 literature teacher, who Dawn is not based on, but there are elements of her in there, Mrs. Chanterhill, who will be coming along for the ride. And she has been fantastic both as I was growing up and during this time as well. And there is a dark humour to it, which is, I find, life-affirming. And it often in my life, when I've had women who are like Dawn around me, it has reminded me not to take myself too seriously. It has reminded me that there is wisdom in women who have life experience behind them, and that is often not appreciated. And I wanted to put a character in there that paid homage to all of those women I've had in my life who are just a joy to be around. As a debut novelist, I almost still can't believe this is happening. I am one of those really cliched stories where I've wanted this since I was 4 years old, and I used to write in my mother's 1970s cookbooks and pretend that they were books and try to sell them to people. I don't think many people bought them, but I've just wanted this for so long, and I've written every day of my life. It's what I come back to. You know, dancers come back to the bar, you know, pianists might come back to scales, and I always come back to the page and to writing. And so it got put on the back burner a little bit for a lot of my life because, you know, I didn't grow up with very much, and I spent, you know, a lot of my young adult life just trying to get ahead and support my family. And then I had children, and it's really hard to write a novel when you have young children, as many people out there know. And my dad, you know, he became quite sick and he developed Alzheimer's. And I think, you know, I realised that life is really darn short, and that there is not going to be any good time. And so once I had a manuscript that I was relatively happy with, I sent it to an agent, and I was lucky enough that he picked it up. And it's Beneithan Oldfield at Zeitgeist, and he's been tremendous in this journey. And he sent it out to publishers in Australia, and they had about 6 weeks to respond with offers, and it was very, very nerve-wracking. And it was my daughter's 10th birthday when it was all happening, and I was really, really lucky to get 5 offers from different publishers. And so it went to what they call an auction, which is as nerve-wracking but as wonderful as it sounds. And my 10-year-old daughter was wanting her cake cut with her friends around her. And we live in regional Victoria, which there isn't much phone reception. And so I received about 64 phone calls in that time. And I had to, we're just about to cut the cake, and I'd be like with the knife, and then I'd get a phone call and I couldn't not pick it up. And so I'd say, just a second, sweetheart. And I'd walk down the driveway and talk to my agent and to the incredible, generous, kind publishers who were expressing their interest. And then I'd come back and we'd sing again, and I'd go to cut the cake and we'd get another phone call. And my beautiful daughter was so patient and understanding. And when it all went down, I chose HarperCollins and Catherine Milne, who is just everything, everything I wanted her to be. And I came back inside and I had tears running down my face. And I think that my daughter's friends thought that I was quite crazy. But we eventually got the cake cut and celebrated her birthday. I love reading. It's reading books, and even just having books around me has always made me feel really safe, and it's always kept me company, both growing up and now. So it's a real solace to me, and I think I'm just as much a reader, and I identify as much as a reader as a writer. So I am actually rereading a book which partly inspired this book, which is Christina Stead's The Man Who Loved Children, which I really love, and also Migrations by Charlotte McConaughey. I'm rereading that as well. It's one of my favourites. And I really love both those books, and I am a rereader. So I love rereading books. I find that I notice the nuances and so forth. I have loved my dear friend Paul Dalgarno's Country of Eternal Light, and I'm really looking forward to, I'm a really big Deborah Levy fan, and so I'm really looking forward to August Blue, which comes out this year as well. I am in the beautiful trenches of a second novel, which I'm so happy about, because one of the things I've learned through this process is that I do love writing, and I do love writing novels, and so I am happily ensconced in the second one, which I'm really excited about. Thank you so much for having me.